Greetings. By virtue of your presence watching this video today, I want you to know that we consider you to be an extended member of our family at Unity in Lynnwood. We believe that you are an individualized expression of that one creative impetus which stands behind all life, and as such we celebrate the uniqueness which you are, and we celebrate our unity with you. We are glad you're with us. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. If you are joining us via the internet, we stand with you. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. We'd like to issue an invitation this morning on Valentine's evening, February 14th. We are offering a recurring event that we call Chocolate Cabaret. It's subtitled An Evening of Decadence. It's an evening of beautiful love songs, of rich chocolates, of wine. Tickets are $25. They're available in your spiritual gift shop.
First time ever I saw your face,
Uh-oh.
I thought the sun rose in your eyes, and the moon and the stars were the gifts you gave to the dark and the endless skies, my love, to the dark and the endless skies.
Every service has an ambassador. This person's role is to support you in your exploration and discovery of this evolving divine idea we call Unity in Lynnwood. If you have a question about who we are, about what we believe, what we teach, about what is available to you, please engage this noble soul in conversation. I promise you won't forget the first time you saw her face. Nan Allen, will you wave to these kind people, please? Cherished regular at UIL and beloved father of Reverend Nina Clark. Dr. Jim Clark moved into invisibility at the tail end of the blood moon eclipse. As his daughter wrote, what a poetic choice for such a deeply spiritual man. So to Jim, your community stands for you as you discover the nature of soul through this new beginning. And to Reverend Nina, to Mother Kathy, to Tanner, to Madison, to Susan, and to each other, your community stands with you as you navigate the privilege of humanity through your new beginning.
When
shall be carried. When we lay down our fears, down our fears, down our fears, only love remains here. There is only love, only love, only love, only love, only love. Love, love shall remain, yes. Love, love shall remain, praise its ways. Love and our love shall remain, shall remain. Love, love shall remain. Color, cast no creed. Underneath all the same color we bleed. I don't care what we practice, practice or preach now. Only love will now. Love, love shall remain. Only love, love shall remain. Christ is in me. Would you sing it with us? Make me an instrument, Lord of thy peace, Lord of thy peace. Make me an instrument as I release, as I release. Make me an instrument, humble and free, humble and free. Make me an instrument, the living Christ. The living Christ is in me. Sing it out. Make me an instrument, Lord of thy peace. Make me your instrument as I release. Make me an instrument, humble and free, Lord. Make me an instrument. Christ is in me. The living 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 Christ is in me.
The words of the invocation were used by Charles Fillmore. If you feel so inclined, repeat after me. I am. I am now. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I acknowledge your presence and your power. O blessed Spirit. In your divine wisdom. Now remove my mortal limitations. And in your pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world according to your perfect law. So I'd like to welcome you to a lesson I've entitled Be Still and Know. But because Rafe Perlman is in the house this morning, I might do better to call it an experience or an event, perhaps even an occasion. So I'd like to welcome you to an occasion I've entitled Be Still and Know. That does seem more fitting, don't you think? Besides, the idea of a lesson seems so very scholarly, so very academic, so very classroom. When Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore and every... I'm watching the video. When Fillmore and every other avatar remind us that to attempt to reduce God, the universe, ultimate reality, the name is always more of a problem than a solution, you understand. That any attempt to reduce God to that which the intellect alone can apprehend is to not deny oneself of its fullest fruits. So let's abandon ourselves to an occasion this morning. An occasion which extends around, stretches over, presses through, and leaps beyond that intellectual self of us to awaken something of a soul knowing. If you are willing to do so, if you're willing to abandon yourself to such an occasion, turn to the soul who sits to your right and say, I'm willing. And if you're willing to abandon yourself to such an occasion, turn to the soul who sits to your left and say, I'm willing. And then turn to someone else just for the fun of it and say, I'm so glad you are here. It's a provocative idea, really. It's a provocative idea which would have us respond counter to the ways of society. After all, when life happens, to respond from the mind of society is to man up. It's to fight hard. And by all means, it's to do more of what you were doing before than what you were doing before. When life happens, to respond from the mind of society is to respond with a consciousness of doingness. And yet there's the wisdom of the psalmist who counsels even with the first word of the great psalm. Be. The great psalm doesn't start with do, it starts with be. It's a provocative idea that seems to imply that there is something important to the quality of our beingness, perhaps even more important than the quality of our doingness. And Unity would agree with this. We might say that experience is a product of consciousness, and that consciousness exists not at the level of doingness, but at the level of beingness. That's why I always say, let our first prayers be for a consciousness equivalent to the good we desire to experience. Let our first prayers be those of consciousness. Let our first prayers be rooted in that level of beingness. For unless we can be the possibility, we will never be able to sustain the possibility. We might be able to create it. We'll never be able to keep it.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still, know I am. Be still and know, and be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know, and be in love. Be still and know I am.
So if you want greater prosperity, the mind of society says, do. But the counsel of the psalmist says, be. If you want deeper wisdom, the mind of society says, do. But the wisdom of the psalmist says, be. In the interest of this 64 ways in 64 days season for nonviolence program, if you want sustainable peace, the mind of society says, do. But it's the wisdom of the psalmist that says, be.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know, and be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know, and be in love. Be still and know I am.
The story is told of a band of followers who would seek higher possibility after having been enslaved for so long in Egypt. Perhaps we could say that the story is told of a band of followers who would seek higher possibility after life happened. And at tremendous personal risk, they started for that higher possibility, that promised land, that distant horizon, dripping with milk and honey. And isn't there always something of a personal risk, by the way? I mean, while few of us will actually find ourselves navigating that desert, I have to believe that each of us can relate to those hurdles which seem to knock us down, to that history which seems to hold us back with every foray toward higher possibility. So the story is told of that band of followers who would seek higher possibility, ultimately to find themselves stuck between an approaching army and an expansive sea. Today's people might be tempted to say they found themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. And yet when wisdom speaks, the counsel stands counter to every cop show, every Western movie, every hero's tale. The counsel is, fear not. And in this text, that source of inspiration goes on to say, fear not. You need only to be still. You see, while the mind of society says, stuck between an approaching army and an expansive sea, do more. But it's the wisdom of the psalmist that says, stuck between a rock and a hard place, do less.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know, and be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know, be in love. Be still and know I am.
And as you already know, the psalmist goes on to say, be still and know. The psalmist didn't say, be still and question. Be still and wonder. Be still and plead. The psalmist didn't say, be still and cultivate a consciousness of indecisiveness, of timidity, of doubt. The psalmist goes on to say, be still and know. Be still and cultivate a consciousness of resoluteness, of assurance, of conviction, It was the rabbi himself who is reported to have taught that all things asked in prayer with belief will be delivered. But when we come to understand that the better translation would have been more akin to those things claimed or those things demanded with belief will be delivered, we find ourselves yet again face to face with this consciousness of knowing.
Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Oh, be still and know. Be in love. Be still and know I am. Sing it out. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Hey, still and know and be in love. Be still and know I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know and be in love. Be still and know I am.
So ultimately, this teaching reminds us that we've operated for far too long under the mistaken belief that we are to bring our human circumstances to God, when in truth we are to bring the consciousness of God into every human circumstance. Yet again, we have it backward. Or as Emmett Fox suggested, in the midst of any and all human circumstances, we are to pause and to consider God however it is that we consider God to be. In the midst of human change, in the midst of human confusion, in the midst of human loss, and in the midst of human endeavoring, dreaming, reaching, we are to pause and to consider God however it is that we consider God to be. And what is this if not a restatement of today's words? What is this if not a restatement of be still and know I am? And so it is that I invite each of us to do just that. To be followed by a time of silence, let's begin by closing our eyes to that outer world. Let's begin by taking a deep breath. And in the midst of human circumstances, such as they are in this moment, let's pause. And open to a knowingness of that love and wisdom of which we are individuations, expressions, extensions. Let's pause and open to a knowingness of that eternal, capital L life, upon whose reassuring currents we find ourselves together, holding hands on something of this grand adventure of a human incarnation. Let's pause and open to a knowingness of that higher reality, expansive enough to contain both the apparent beginnings and endings of earthly life. that higher reality which the ancient prophet deduced to be isness, that higher reality which the ancient prophet interpreted to be beingness. Let's pause and open to a knowingness of that higher reality which the ancient prophet translated to be I am. So we hear anew, be still. Be still and know I am. as we prepare to re-enter the world. Let us hear these words anew. Let us resist the temptation to leave this consciousness at the door of Unity in Lynnwood, to move into a world of separation and fear and look for God. Instead, let's hear these words anew and let us accept a new commitment, and that is to carry this consciousness into that world, to take our awareness of God to all of life. To close as we began, let us entertain the possibility that, yes, indeed, we are God's prayer for life, for love, for wisdom. May this be so, and so it is. Thanks again for joining us. Please visit unityandlinwood.org for a preview of all upcoming classes, services, and events, and for an opportunity to make a gift to our community should you so choose. Thank you.